Hello and welcome back everyone. I have spent some time recently looking at wrestling games, and these games are certainly a mixed bag, apart from Wrestlefest that is, but it turns out the other licensed WWF games were okay, but not brilliant. But the non-licensed games had been slightly better, such as Wrestle War. Capcom had decided to dip their toes into the squared circle, and they came up with a game that had some grapple elements, but played more like a 2D fighter. Saturday Night Slam Masters plays like most other wrestling games, only the game used a view similar to that commonly used in the fighting game genre. The game also uses a 3-button configuration, one for grab, one for attack, and one for jump. Each character has 2 special attacks, a non-grappling technique and a finisher. When an opponent's life meter is depleted, you must either be pinned for a 3 count or forced to submit. Defeating all of the other wrestlers results in winning the championship belt, which then must be defended against the entire roster. There are 2 game modes. Single match, where the player fights in a series of one-on-one matches against the CPU, and Team Battle Royal, where the player and another partner, controlled by another player or by the CPU, competes in a series of 2-on-2 matches, and the entire game can be played with up to 4 players. When you clap your eyes on the visuals, you can instantly tell this is a Capcom game. At least I could. That now recognisable yellow and red life bar, the presentation, and of course, the inclusion of Hager from Final Fight. As well as the usual Capcom identifiers, another thing that gives this away as a Capcom game is the quality of the visuals. I think this game looks spectacular, with decent sized sprites, decent animated backgrounds, and interesting characters. And unlike a lot of other wrestling games, this one actually has the entrance walk as well, with each wrestler walking in from different sides of the ring to their entrance music. In between bouts, we have the usual Capcom trash talking as well, and the avatars look good and of the high standard you would expect of a Capcom game.
You win! Mexico.
The sound effects are lifted straight from Capcom's fighting library, with many of the slams, punches and kicks sounding very familiar, along with the familiar voiceovers and point-totaling jingle. And in terms of sounds and visuals, it's quite ahead of almost every other wrestling game out there at the time. All apart from Wrestlefest, that is. The playability is not quite what I expected from a wrestling game. When playing it back, I couldn't really pull off any other moves, and it seems this is not a button bashing wrestling game, and so it doesn't really play like every other game out there, and so it felt more like a 2D fighter. But the lack of ability I had when pulling off moves did not dampen my enjoyment of the game, as there was a decent enough roster to keep you happy. As well as Hager, we have some obvious inspirations from real life wrestlers. Greater here is an obvious homage to Big Van Vader, and he even has that silly oversized mask thing on when he walks to the ring. Stinger looks like a very, very young Rey Mysterio Jr., and Jumbo looks like Big Daddy, but with a mohawk. And there are 2 player versus modes and 2 player cooperative modes, and in each mode there is plenty of fun to be had. But back in the day, this was a game I only ever played very briefly in the arcades. I had 2 or 3 credits on it and I thought it was alright, thought it was worth a go, but I never felt the need to go back and play it again. But when I seen it on the Super Nintendo, I decided to pick it up. When I picked this up, I had left school and was working, so I pretty much stopped waiting for game reviews to see if a game was good. From that point on, I was just buying games if I thought they looked good, so I wouldn't really be wasting too much money on them. And from the images on the back of the box, and from my limited recollection of the arcade game, I thought this looked pretty darn close. And when I got it home, I was pleasantly surprised, as graphically, I think this port is close enough. Yes, alright. As usual, with all Capcom ports to the Super Nintendo, everything has been shrunk a little bit, but that is to be expected. But something I did notice that wasn't present in the arcade was this brief moment of lag just as a bout starts. At the time, I always found it odd, but I think I now know why it's there. Capcom had been experimenting with a bulk loader of some type. It's more obvious on the SNES port of Street Fighter Alpha 2, but here you can see that Capcom had already started messing around with it. This means the game runs only the necessary code for this part, and this helps reduce the slowdown. And it also explains why the visuals look so good and so close to the arcade. The same cannot be said for the sound, however. The hits and kicks and punches all sound more like a slap with a wet fish, and the slams sound feeble, more like a rumbly fart. But at least the music is okay, I suppose, and the speech is pretty clear, what there is of it. In terms of playability, it's close to the arcade version. Again, it plays more like a 2D fighter in a wrestling ring as opposed to a wrestling game, but I still found it enjoyable. It was, however, an unfortunate casualty of my now more casual nature towards video games, and I no longer had to buy a game that would keep me happy for months and months at a time, and so I played it a few times, but after a few weeks, it just sat on my game shelf gathering dust as something else took my time up. It's also a game that I don't really have any good memories of. I don't have any bad memories of the game either. It was just another game, and I think looking back on it now, it was a game I bought simply to beef up my Super NES collection numbers. And it's a game I still have to this day, boxed and in a protective sleeve, like so many other of my Super NES games. And I think the last time I played that cartridge was winter 1994. And I only picked it up in October 94 or something. I honestly cannot remember, but I know I didn't play it a lot. Is it a game I would recommend? Well, yeah, I would actually recommend it. The very fact it plays differently from other wrestling games does warrant a look on its own to see if it's your cup of tea. But other than that, it's hard to see who the game was aimed at. Was it aimed at wrestling fans or fighting fans? It's a strange one indeed. Capcom must have liked it though, as they made sequels to it which I never ever seen or played before, but maybe I will soon. But that was my look back at Saturday Night Slam Masters. If you liked this video, then please do all the usual like, comment and subscribe stuff, and maybe even slam a comment or two below about your memories of Slam Masters. And as always, a massive thank you from me to all those who have commented and subbed already. It really does mean a lot. And that's all from me folks. Thanks for watching.